It's 3 a.m. and you're awake again. Not from a nightmare, not from a noise. You just woke up, no reason. Mind suddenly clear, body suddenly alert, lying there in the dark wondering what's wrong with you. Your phone says it's been 4 hours since you fell asleep. You do the math on how tired you'll be tomorrow. You call this insomnia. You assume it's a malfunction. But the real answer is far stranger. For most of human history, what you're experiencing right now wasn't a disorder, it was the default. It was simply what sleep looked like before the modern world quietly rewired it, one street lamp and one glowing screen at a time. Let's go back. Long before alarm clocks, long before electric light turned night into a second daytime. Picture a small group of humans, maybe 20 or 30 of them, settled around a fire as the sun disappears behind the hills. There is no schedule. There is no 8-hour block of uninterrupted sleep waiting for them. There is only the dark, the fire, and each other. Historian Roger Ekirch spent years digging through old court records, diaries, and medical texts from pre-industrial Europe, looking for clues about how ordinary people actually slept before electricity. He kept finding the same odd phrase over and over in completely unrelated documents. People wrote about their first sleep, and then, hours later, their second sleep. Between the two, there was a gap, an hour, sometimes two, of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. Not panic, not insomnia, just a normal, expected pause. What did people do during that gap? They prayed, they talked, they had sex. They tended a dying fire so it would last until morning. Some got up and visited neighbors who were also awake at the same hour, as if the whole village kept a second, quieter schedule nobody had agreed to out loud. Some just lay there, half dreaming, half thinking, drifting through a mental state we don't really have a word for anymore. Doctors of the time didn't treat this gap as a problem. Diarists didn't write about it with dread. It shows up in the old documents the way you might mention checking the time or stepping outside for air. Unremarkable, expected. Just one more ordinary feature of how a night unfolded, the same way breakfast was an ordinary feature of how a morning unfolded. This wasn't rare. This wasn't a few unlucky sleepers complaining to their doctors. Ekirch's research suggests this two-part sleep pattern shows up so often across the historical record, in letters and legal testimony and literature alike, that almost nobody bothered to explain it. It needed no explanation. It was simply how nights worked. Then artificial light arrived, street lamps first, flickering on city corners, then light bulbs in every home, then glowing screens in every pocket, and the long, dark, empty hours that once stretched between sunset and sunrise quietly disappeared, replaced by a single extended evening that bleeds straight into a single unbroken night. Without that darkness, the body had no reason to split its sleep into two acts, so the modern world compressed it into one, a single block. 8 hours, ideally start to finish, no interruptions allowed, measured and judged like a performance review. Here's the part that should stop you cold. The version of sleep you've been taught to expect, one smooth, uninterrupted block from lights out to alarm, might be the unusual one. The version where you wake up at 3 a.m. for no obvious reason might be closer to the ancestral default. You weren't built broken, you were built for a night that doesn't really exist anymore. But maybe segmented sleep was just a side effect of candlelit Europe, a regional quirk. Maybe it doesn't tell us anything about deeper human biology at all. So scientists went looking for proof somewhere else, somewhere modern light has barely reached. In 2015, neuroscientist Jerome Siegel and his team studied 3 hunter-gatherer and forager horticulturalist groups, still living largely without electricity: the Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, the Tsimane in Bolivia. These are not historical records, these are living communities, observed directly, with no smartphones, no streetlights, no 9-to-5 schedule pressing down on them. If segmented sleep were simply a product of candlelit Europe, these groups with none of that history should look completely different. They did look different, just not in the way you'd expect. Most nights, these groups slept in one continuous stretch, somewhere around 6.5 to 7 hours. No widespread split into first and second sleep, no mass insomnia either. What they did have was something else entirely. Their bodies fell asleep not at a fixed clock time, but as the temperature dropped after sunset. They woke not to an alarm, but as the temperature rose again before sunrise. Their internal clocks were listening to the planet, not to a number on a wall. Their sleep wasn't ruled